I think we want to be on track to become a multi-planet species and a spacefaring civilization in order to find out what the universe is all about, like and ensure the continuance of consciousness as we know it. As far as we know, we're the only life. I mean, people think there's aliens, but honestly, I haven't seen any sign of aliens. So as far as we know, we're the only life. Whether we could be the only life, so let's put it that way. And we need to take the set of actions that are most likely to make the future good and result in the continuance of consciousness as we know it. We've gone through many iterations, starting from not really knowing how to build rockets at all with Falcon 1, and having 4 failures actually in reaching orbit. 3 failures, and then the 4th one got to orbit. So 4th one's a charm. So we only barely survived. I was at 0 cash basically when we got that 4th one to orbit, and if that 4th one hadn't worked, we would have been curtains. So it's definitely not been smooth sailing. It's been a very difficult ride, with just a lot that has been discovered along the way. I mean, just trying to figure out what questions to ask about the design was quite difficult. I think it's helpful to have as the objective the creation of a self-sustaining city on Mars. I think this has to be the objective, not simply a few people or a base, but a self-sustaining city. The acid test really is if the ships from Earth stop coming for any reason, does Mars die out? For any reason. It could be banal, or it could be nuclear Armageddon. It doesn't matter. If the ships stop coming for any reason, does the city on Mars die out? If it does, we're not in a secure place. So, I mean, I think this really might come down to, on the great filter front, are we going to create a self-sustaining city on Mars before or after World War III? And I think the probability of it being created after World War III, hopefully there's never a World War III, but of after is low. So we should try to make the city self-sustaining before any possible World War III. This is just a risk. This is not, I think sometimes people have difficulty dealing with probabilities. It's either this way or that way, but it's really, we just face a series of probabilities. And there's some chance that we will have a giant war or a super volcano, or a comet might hit the Earth, or we might just self-extinguish in some. It might be more of a whimper than a bang. And frankly, right now, civilization is not looking super strong. It's looking a little rickety right now, to be frank. It's not an escape vehicle. It's simply something that it's not like you can. I mean, unless Mars is made self-sustaining, which will probably not happen in my lifetime. It is certainly not. It's meaningless to have an escape, lifeboat or escape hatch or something, if you're simply moving to another place where you will soon die out. That doesn't count. It's not much of a lifeboat, really. So this is really about, minimizing existential risk for civilization as a whole, and then having an exciting future that you can look forward to, and a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and multi-planet species is far more exciting than one where we are not. That's an exciting future, and being forever confined to Earth until some eventual extinction event is depressing and not fun. And we need things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning and be excited about the future. And I think being a spacefaring civilization is one of those things that everyone can get excited about. You first have to say what is the goal. And once you have what is the goal, you can then measure various designs against that goal. Otherwise, you're saying, how are you evaluating why is one design better than another? What's your goal? It's got to be a goal. So the goal is get enough tonnage to Mars and enough people to make Mars self-sustaining as quickly as possible. So then you say, okay, let's back out the math on this. need a lot of tonnage. Maybe, I don't know, 100,000 tons, maybe 1 million tons. So you can't be faffing around with these expendable rockets. They're a joke. They're absurd. Even Saturn V is tiny potatoes. We need it, because if you want to get, like, let's say, first order approximation, 1 million tons to the surface of Mars, inclusive of people, that means probably something around 4 or 5 million useful tons of payload into a low Earth orbit. For every time you get to low Earth orbit, you're going to get 4 or 5 tons, hopefully closer to 5. This math is you really start squeezing like tiny percentages. But let's say confidently, if you got 5 tons to low Earth orbit, you can get 1 ton to Mars. That's confident. Maybe you can get, maybe you only need 4. Anyway, the point is, you need 5 million tons into Earth orbit to get 1 million tons to Mars. Now, let's put this into perspective. Total global capacity to orbit of all expendable rockets is around 500 or 600 tons, I think. And if you said, okay, the world's going to end if you do not increase your capacity, perhaps they could do 1,000 tons. Okay, so that's 1/5,000th of what's needed. This is ridiculous. It's not even, 0.1% would be, 1,000th. So way less than 0.1%. We have way less than 0.1% of the capability needed to create if everyone went full tilt with expendable rockets. Expendable rockets are just utterly stupid, in my opinion. Utterly stupid. They're a complete waste of time. People should stop wasting their time. If you try to sell an expendable plane, people would laugh you out of the room. If you try to sell an expendable car, they would laugh you out of the room. If you try to sell an expendable horse, they would laugh you out of the room and think there's something wrong with you mentally. So all these things are reusable. It's essential to be reusable. Now, creating a reusable rocket, orbital rocket, is very difficult. Doing a suborbital reusable rocket is easy. Doing a reusable orbital rocket is hard. Even when a lot of smart people have put quite a bit of effort into it, they might get 2 or 3% of the lift-off mass to low Earth orbit. And a really epic rocket would get 4. I'm not sure I don't think anyone's ever gotten 4. But you basically need to have something that in expendable form would probably get about 4% of its payload to orbit, such that you can spend about half of that 4% on reusability and still net out to around 2% of payload to orbit. So you have to make both the booster and the upper stage and the fairing and everything reusable. With Falcon 9, so with Falcon 1, we did actually attempt to do this. So we had a parachute from the first stage, but really did not appreciate that first stage was going to hit the atmosphere like a concrete wall. So at first I got pretty mad at the parachute supplier until I realized, it's not their fault. We were just big fools. That thing was exploding as soon as it hit the atmosphere. So you really got to do something to ease the transition into the atmosphere at high Mach number. It's very hot, and there's a lot of force and a lot of heat. So then with Falcon 9, we made a bigger rocket, and now scale matters here because you do get basically economies of scale. You can't have a tiny rocket. There's a tiny rocket, you basically just end up carrying your electronics to orbit. So your avionics, So in a little rocket, if you're small enough, just your avionics alone ends up being a significant percentage of your payload, and then you end up, if you had a rocket that was, I don't know, trying to get a 10,000 pound rocket, for example, or even a 10,000 kilogram rocket to orbit, I think you would basically get 0 payload. Now, as you get bigger, the rocket gets bigger, but the brain doesn't get bigger. The brain can stay the same size. So your avionics, for example, become almost 0% of the weight for a big rocket. Then for big rockets, you also get gauge advantages. So we're really in the nuances of rocket design and manufacturing here.